I don't know if you gentlemen have seen depth charts. Like the depth charts get released, a little bit before the game is, and in the Orange Bowl, I got my release from Florida State University. I don't see Keon Coleman, Johnny Wilson. I can't look. I kid you not. We've got wide receivers listed at running backs. We've got multiple true freshmen. We've got 2 walk-ons as the backup at the quarterback because Tate Rodemaker's not going to play either. No Jaheim Bell at tight end. Interestingly enough, as of right now, still see Braden Fisk, the very talented defensive lineman transfer from Western Michigan, had a good season. See him out there. Looks like Kalen DeLoach is still on there, but no Akeem Dent. 2 other starters in the secondary. Meanwhile, the only thing that we're missing as of right now for Georgia is Brock Bowers and Amarius Mims, 2 players. The Mims banged up in the SEC championship game. Bowers obviously probably came back a little bit early from that injury. So, I mean, this thing was 16.5. Now it's 19.5. Emory, let's get started. What are we doing with Georgia and Florida State as a best bet in this very, very odd Orange Bowl between the Bulldogs and the Seminoles?
I kind of like Florida State's silent protest with all these guys opting out because they didn't get into the postseason. Just like, you know what? We're going to ruin your viewing experience. We're going to make this a sloppy looking game because a lot of our guys are not going to play. And you have to lay these points with Georgia. And it's unfortunate because they were in a no-win situation. Had they gone out there and lost to Georgia, in a close game, people will say, well, see, this is why they wasn't one of the top 4. Now they go out there and going to go lose to Georgia. Well, see, this is why they're not in the top 4. So it was a no-win situation for Florida State. I'm at the age now where I have to say I don't understand a lot of the opt-outs, and I get the key guys opting out, but the transfer portal is a weird spot where guys are opting out, and now it has ruined the whole bowl experience. So obviously there need to be some changes there, but for the sake of this point spread, there's no way I'm taking Florida State to cover against Georgia, who's 90% at where they're going to be, and especially up front on both sides of the line of scrimmage. Yeah, lay these points with Georgia.
EC, what are we doing?
Chip, I'll be honest. I'm an action junkie. If there's a game on, I want to bet it. We got Tulane, Virginia Tech on. I got something on. You can't bet this game. You just can't. I'm sorry, but there's just too much going on here. I'm staying away. If I had to put a lean on it, which of course I'm doing, going the under 44.5, because I don't know how Florida State's going to score. I mean, do the Bulldogs care to be here after being left out of the CFP, even though they were definitely one of the best 4 teams? And Florida State deserved to be in the Final Four. Do they play with a chip on their shoulder, or does it really matter? I mean, I guess if they win this, they could put up a UCF national champs banner, kind of like the Golden, or like the Knights did. I don't know. Nonetheless, how's Florida State going to move the ball against a defense full of 4- and 5-star backups? They're not. This game's just not bettable. I'll stay far away. I can't believe I'm actually giving Florida State points, but I'll say Georgia 24, Florida State 10.
That, by the way, would be a team total under. But look, I've got 9 different ways to play this. We go Georgia, we lay the points, and we don't worry about that under. We go Georgia team total over too. Okay, we're going to keep throwing it out there. And I might even jump in live and keep firing on Georgia time and time again, because this is a game where something comes to mind. The standard is the standard, because we're looking at all these opt-outs, and one of them, 5th spot University, they've got everybody crying and opting out. You know who doesn't? Georgia. Because they are going to show up and they're going to remind you who they are. Tough break. Our left tackle goes down in the SEC championship game against one of the best defenses in the entire country. We lose, a couple bad calls don't go our way. But you know what we're not going to do? We're not going to pout about it. We're not going to cry about it. Carson Beck's going to be playing in this game. The Dumas Johnson's going to be playing in this game. I was looking at the defense, and it's funny. They don't have enough draft eligible players. Some of the nastiest players on this Georgia defense are not draft eligible yet, and they're coming out here looking to make a statement. I think Georgia wipes the floor with the Seminoles in this game. I'll lay the big number. I also like the Georgia team total over. I have no idea what Florida State's going to be able to do in terms of trying to score in this game, but I think that 38-0. Like, I think we are talking about the kind of game where start to finish, Georgia just really reminds us all what kind of football that they're playing there in Athens. Big time statement I think for the Bulldogs, they handle this odd situation better than the boys in Tallahassee.
Yeah, but wait a second though, Chip. And Emory, as a former player, like if you're Florida State, you got left out of the CFP, you're in the, you should have been in the Final Four, you're not. Do you play with a chip on your shoulder to those guys who are talented enough? I mean, we're not talking like, my U of A backups here who are not, who are 2 and maybe 3 stars. You're talking 4, 3, high 3, 4 stars for Florida State. Do those guys come out with a chip on their shoulder and say, hey, we have something to play for. We're going to keep this game close. We're going to show you we belonged.
Listen, it's a great question because I know what's probably going on in that locker room. Like, man, it sucks that, Keon is not going to play. Guys transferring out and, they didn't put us in the playoffs. And then like 2 seconds later, like, yo, Mom's starting this week. Like, I can't wait. I mean, so those backups are excited as hell. Like those walk-ons are excited as hell. Everyone gets bumped up the depth chart. And this is a game where you can show up and show out. And it helps springboard into next year. So, yeah, they're going to be amped. They're going to be ready to go. They're going to play. Unfortunately, they just don't have the depth. And that's where this game is going to look like a Power 5 versus a G5 program where, yeah, they'll compete initially in the first quarter, but then that depth starts to kick in. And that's where Georgia at full strength is going to slowly start to pull away. I also like the over in that game, too. Because of that reason, we'll see Florida State probably get 10, 13 points, but Georgia's going to continue to roll that ball downhill as that depth starts to wane because there's no depth now with Florida State. There's another game that we're going to talk about later that has very little depth in with these guys opting out. So, yeah, they'll be motivated, and guys going to, show remorse in public, but privately they're watching, amply highlights and all that stuff, like trying to get ready to go because they know this is my time to shine now. So, yeah, I'm excited to see how those guys are going to play for the first quarter when it's competitive. But after that, yeah, it's not going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, we got to remember that this is where modern roster construction has the other side. Florida State built itself into a championship contender with the transfer portal, not because they've had year over year of top signing classes. So there's a reason why Mike Norvell has to go in and get 15 to 20 guys in each of the last 2 off seasons. It's because he feels like the guys that he had weren't going to be able to compete at that championship level. So good luck to Florida State.